I think so much can happen with a book that makes a difference, not just because of the words that you read alone, but the way a book makes you think and share those stories and connect. And this next author has a message that way too many people need to hear. Julie Boyer, join me on the stage. Hello.
Hi.
Amazing to see you on the red carpet. Every single day, there are people who wake up in the morning and dread their jobs. They dread going to work. They may even drive to work getting a headache progressively as they drive, or a stomach ache, knowing they have to face that person. Your book, Just Give Me Meaningful Work, Leave Your Exhausting Job and Start Making a Difference, is such a powerful tool for anybody who is in a job that either makes them miserable or just makes them feel like they're biding their time. Tell us about the book. Who's it for? Who did you want to help with this message?
So specifically, I wanted to help women who are in the position that you just described, who are really longing to feel more comfortable in their skin at work, wanting to really truly be living their potential. So I work with people who are, they're already successful enough. They have the trappings of a really nice life, what looks like a nice life, but on the inside they're unhappy and unfulfilled and really suffering in a way. And what I find is that there's a lot of the clients that I work with, like me, are sort of highly sensitive and emotionally intelligent. They have a set of skills that they haven't truly owned in what they do. So part of the working with me and part of making this change is finding your way back to the stuff that comes naturally to you and finding where you best belong and where you can make the most difference.
Okay, so you set up in your subtitle an exhausting job versus a job that's making a difference. Here's a trick question.
Yeah.
Are those necessarily different jobs or different companies?
I think the exhaustion, there's exhaustion that comes from, when your soul is just being depleted because you're giving, and you're not getting anything back. And you're giving from a place that is really of like pushing yourself through the day, just trying to get through it. And then there's exhaustion that comes from being carried through something because you're so connected with your purpose. And, in that second example, that's where we're really making the biggest difference, I think, is when we're in our element and we're in our strengths and connected to the people that we're working on behalf of.
Makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Well, Al from Alameda, California wants to know, how do you write a book with stories about people who might not want to be identified? And I can imagine with your clients, if they're still in those jobs or maybe just wouldn't be proud of a job that they took that was out of alignment. What would you tell Al?
Okay, so this is a good question because you'll notice I used the phrase highly sensitive, and I hesitated a little bit because most people don't identify themselves as highly sensitive. I help them figure that out.
Or if they say it, it's sort of a negative, like you're too sensitive.
Like it's weakness or something like that. So there are so many situations of, where you could be writing a book about something that somebody doesn't know about themselves yet. So what you want to do is, ideally, you've been there before. That's part of how you know something about this. You go back in time and you remember who you were when you were in the position where your reader is now. And you really, it takes some work. It's actually really hard to do. But
good thing you have me.
Yeah, exactly. So you go back in time and you just put yourself back in that position and try to remember, how did you think of yourself? How did you describe your world? How did you describe your problem? Because I know for me, years ago, 6-8 years ago, the way I would have described my problem is very different from how I would define it now as a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you tell any stories of your clients where you changed their name or changed any identifying details?
Oh, yeah. So I use client stories throughout my book. And it's, what's the question in that? So
did you ask their permit? Did you use their actual names and then ask their permission?
I actually changed their names. So my clients were all pretty good with me sharing their story. So I would write their story. I send it along to them and say, hey, I'd love to share your story. Here's why, because I think it'll really make a difference and speak to people. And then I ask for their permission. And then I actually didn't even ask them if they wanted to share their name, because I feel like I don't want my clients coming to me afraid that I'm going to tell their story in public. So I just change the name, and any, specific details of their life, you just keep
a reporter at ESPN.
Yeah, you keep it general so that you're getting your point across and you're telling the essence of the story, but you're not ruining anybody's privacy.
So this is what I say, Al. Write the stories exactly how they happened. Use that person's name, and then go back and change the names and those details. So when you're writing it, you're thinking of that person. You're remembering what they were saying to you. Yeah. And then you can always change those details later. So such a powerful message for anybody out there who is feeling like they could have a little more meaning in their work life. We spend 40, 50 hours a week, some of us 60, 70 hours a week working. Do you really want to spend that time giving so much of yourself that you're exhausted and then don't even have time to enjoy the time you aren't working? So there is another way. Julie Boyer's book, Just Give Me Meaningful Work. Leave your exhausting job, start making a difference. Julie can help you do that. On the screen right now is the Amazon link. Go download this book and share it with one person you know could be making more of a difference if they weren't so darn exhausted. So thanks, Julie. Great job with your book.